How does Azure Functions use Managed Identity for Cosmos Database? Imagine running a cloud application that needs to access data securely without juggling passwords or connection strings. That's where Azure Functions and Managed Identities come into play. Azure Functions are serverless compute services that let you run code without managing servers. When you connect these functions to Azure Cosmos Database, security is key. Managed Identity is a feature in Azure Active Directory that helps with this by providing your function app with an automatically managed identity. This identity acts like a digital passport for your function, so it can prove who it is without needing to store secrets in code or configuration files. There are two types of managed identities in Azure Functions: system-assigned and user-assigned. A system-assigned identity is created automatically when you enable it on your function app. It is tied directly to that specific app and is deleted if the app is removed. User-assigned identities are created separately and can be assigned to multiple resources, giving you more flexibility. When setting up your Azure function, you turn on the system-assigned identity in the portal or through code. This identity then becomes a service principal in Azure Active Directory, which is like a digital user account. Next, you need to give this identity permission to access your Cosmos database. You do this by assigning role-based access control roles in Azure. For example, you might assign the Cosmos DB built-in data contributor role, which allows reading and writing data. These roles are assigned to the managed identity, not to individual user accounts, making management easier and more secure. Once the roles are in place, your function can request access tokens from Azure Active Directory. These tokens are like digital keys that prove the identity of your function when it tries to access Cosmos database. In your code, instead of embedding connection strings or keys, you use Azure SDKs that support Azure Active Directory authentication. For example, in Net, you can use the Azure Identity Library to acquire a token. The SDK handles the process of requesting a token from Azure Active Directory using the managed identity. When your function makes a call to Cosmos database, it includes this token in the request. Cosmos database then validates the token, checks the assigned roles, and grants access if everything matches. This process makes your application more secure because you're not exposing secrets or keys. Azure Functions also support Cosmos DB bindings, which simplify data operations. When you configure these bindings, you can choose to authenticate with Azure Active Directory instead of connection strings. This means your function can read, write, or trigger on Cosmos database data securely using the managed identity. It's a seamless way to keep your data safe and your code clean. Using managed identities with Azure Functions and Cosmos database aligns with best security practices. It removes the need to store sensitive secrets in your code or environment variables. It also makes managing permissions easier because you control access through Azure role-based access control. This setup supports automation and scaling, making your cloud applications more reliable and secure. Compared to other cloud platforms, Azure's integrated approach offers a straightforward way to handle authentication without complex secret management. In summary, Azure Functions use managed identities by enabling a system or user-assigned identity, assigning appropriate roles to access Cosmos database, and then using Azure Active Directory tokens within your code or bindings. This approach keeps your data secure, simplifies management, and supports scalable cloud applications.